The coronation was the most magnificent and awkward event Danny had ever experienced. He wore ceremonial robes that dragged on the floor. The crown was heavy and kept sliding down his forehead. Thousands of Velkarans filled the great hall while billions more watched on screens across the empire. Katie stood nearby as Earth's official representative. She still looked like she could not believe this was real. Danny understood the feeling. He was living it and still did not quite believe it himself. The ceremony was ancient, full of rituals Danny had memorized the night before. He swore oaths in 3 different Velkaran languages, promising to serve with wisdom, courage, and heart. When it was over and the crowd erupted in cheers and music, Danny felt terror and determination fighting inside. His first act as emperor was to create something he called the Council of Voices. It would include representatives from every colony world, every species living in the empire, and every level of society. Rich and poor, central worlds and forgotten colonies. Everyone would have a voice. The traditional council members looked shocked. Some protested. But Danny held firm. If he was going to lead these people, he would listen to all of them. Not just the powerful ones. His second act was to open formal diplomatic relations with Earth. Humanity suddenly had a powerful ally among the stars. And all because one of their citizens had been too tired to read warning signs. The weeks that followed were chaos. Danny learned to navigate Velkaran politics, which made Earth's governments seem simple. He made mistakes constantly. He accidentally insulted a visiting ambassador by using the wrong hand gesture. He nearly started a trade war by misunderstanding a proposal about tariffs. He got lost in his own palace 3 times in one day, but he also listened. He learned. And slowly, he began to earn respect. Rensol became his closest advisor and friend, teaching him about Velkaran culture. Katie stayed as the human liaison, though she spent most of her time stopping Danny from accidentally declaring war on someone one particular day. 2 months into his reign, Danny faced his biggest challenge yet. A dispute between 2 colony worlds over mining rights had turned violent. People had died. Both sides demanded the emperor intervene. Danny sat in the council chamber, listening to representatives from both colonies shout at each other. They hurled accusations and insults. Neither would compromise. The traditional council members looked bored, like they had seen this fight 100 times before. Finally, Danny stood up. Everyone went quiet. "I'm going to tell you a story," Danny said. "Back on Earth, I had a neighbor who played music too loud. Every night, the same thing. It drove me crazy. I complained. He ignored me. It went on for months." The representatives looked confused. What did this have to do with mining rights? One day I knocked on his door. Not to complain. Just to talk. Turns out he was going through a divorce. The music helped him not feel alone. I offered to help him through it. He agreed to use headphones after 10 at night. Problem solved. Danny looked at both representatives. "You're fighting over who gets to mine this asteroid belt. But neither of you asked why the other wants it so badly. So I'm asking. You first." He pointed at the representative from the world called Kelver 3. The Velkaran looked surprised, then said, "Our economy is failing. We need the minerals to trade for food. Our people are hungry." Danny turned to the other representative from a world called Morvith. "And you?" "We need the minerals for medicine production. A plague hit our world last year. Without these resources, thousands will die." The room went silent. Nobody had known this. Both colonies were desperate, both for good reasons. "Okay," Danny said. "New plan. Kelver 3 gets mining rights to half the belt. Morvith gets the other half. Earth will provide emergency food aid to Kelver 3 and medical supplies to Morvith until you're both stable. In exchange, you'll sell resources to Earth at fair prices." Both representatives stared at him. Then slowly they nodded. "Deal," they said together. After the meeting, Velsha approached Danny. "That was well done. You found a solution the council has been unable to reach for months." "I just asked questions," Danny said. "Everyone was so busy fighting, nobody bothered to find out why. Perhaps that is what we needed." Someone willing to ask why. Danny's days fell into a routine, though no day was ever really routine. Morning meetings with advisors, afternoon sessions with the Council of Voices, listening to problems from across the Empire, evening study sessions where Rinsall taught him about Velcaran history and culture. He missed Earth. He missed his cat, though his brother sent regular videos showing that she was fine. He missed coffee the way humans made it. He missed knowing what he was doing, but he also felt something he had never felt before in his old life: purpose. 6 months into his reign, Danny stood on his balcony looking out over the capital city. Rinsall found him there, as he often did when Danny needed to think. "How are you feeling, Your Majesty?" Rinsall asked. "Still weird hearing that," Danny admitted. "But better, I guess. We got the education funding bill passed today. That should help Carolyn S. students in the outer colonies." You remembered her name. I remember all their names. Everyone who spoke during the test of heart. I think about them every day. Rinsall smiled. "That is what makes you a good emperor." Danny laughed. "I'm still figuring out how to be any kind of emperor. But I'll tell you something. I miss my cat. I miss coffee. I miss my old life. But I don't regret this. Really? Really? For the first time in my life, I feel like I'm doing something that matters. I'm helping people. Not in some abstract way like writing code for a big company. Actually helping. Making real differences in real lives. Far above them, ships moved through the night sky, traveling between worlds. The Empire was changing. Slowly, but it was changing. Colony worlds were getting resources. The Council of Voices was giving ordinary people real power. Trade disputes were being solved through talking instead of fighting, and at the center of it all was Danny Morrison, the man who had just wanted to sit down and rest his feet. The man who became emperor by accident and decided to stay because he cared too much to leave. News of the human emperor spread across the galaxy. Other species watched with interest. Earth beamed with pride over their accidental diplomat. And Danny just kept doing his job, one day at a time, learning as he went. He made a rule for himself. Every week he would meet with ordinary citizens. Not politicians or officials, but regular people. He would listen to their problems and try to help. Sometimes he could fix things. Sometimes he could not. But at least people knew someone was listening. One day, a young Velcaran brought him a petition signed by thousands of citizens from the outer colonies. They wanted better transportation between worlds. Danny read the petition, met with the people who wrote it, and within a month, new transport routes were established. Another time, a group of scientists came to him worried about the ancient weapon systems. Danny did not know anything about ancient alien technology, but he knew people who did. He brought together the best minds from multiple worlds, and they figured out how to safely deactivate the dangerous systems. Katie visited him often. She had become Earth's permanent ambassador to the Velcaran Empire. One evening, they sat together on the balcony sharing a bottle of actual Earth wine she had smuggled in. "Your mother says hello," Katie said. "She also says you need to call more often." "I know. It's just hard with the time difference. And the whole being emperor thing. How are you really doing, Danny?" Danny thought about it. "Honestly? Some days I feel like I have no idea what I'm doing. I make mistakes all the time. But other days I see real changes happening. People getting help who never had it before. Problems getting solved. And I think maybe the throne knew what it was doing after all." "Do you ever regret it?" "Every time I see a picture of my cat," Danny said with a smile. "But no, not really. This is where I need to be." A year after Danny sat on the throne, the Empire held its first democratic elections for the Council of Voices. Representatives were chosen by the people, not appointed by the powerful. It was a historic change, and it was Danny's idea, some traditional council members complained. This was not how things were done. But Danny pointed out that things had been done the old way for 5,000 years. And look where that got them. The elections were a success. The new Council of Voices included farmers and teachers and doctors and mechanics. Real people who understood what ordinary citizens needed. Danny attended the first session of the new council and gave a speech. He told them about being a tourist who just wanted to sit down, about sitting on a throne by accident, about learning that leadership was not about having all the answers, but about asking the right questions and listening to the answers. "I never wanted to be emperor," he said, "but I'm glad I am. Because you, all of you, have taught me what it means to serve, to care about people beyond yourself, to work for something bigger than your own comfort. That's what this empire should be about. Not power or glory, but service." The council gave him a standing ovation. Even the representatives who had opposed him clapped. Because in 1 year, Danny had proven that sometimes the best person to lead is the one who never wanted the job in the first place. That night, Danny video called his mother on Earth. She cried when she... 2 years went by faster than Jake expected. Luna grew, but not the way normal dragons did. Jake had secretly looked up information about dragons in the station's database. Female dragons usually grew to 15 feet long in their first year. Luna was only 6 feet from her nose to the tip of her tail, and most of that was her long, thin tail. Her wings had healed strange. The polymer splints that Jake used had joined with her bones somehow. Now her wings were part dragon bone and part human-made material. They were smaller than normal dragon wings, but they seemed stronger. Luna could turn faster and move quicker than big dragons could, but the most surprising thing was how smart she was. Jake had started teaching her simple things. Stay hidden when people came to visit. Don't eat his expensive tools. Know the difference between friends and enemies. Luna learned everything fast and then kept learning more. She watched everything Jake did. When he fixed a ship engine, she watched. When he read technical plans, she looked over his shoulder. When he used tools, she studied how they worked. After 6 months, Luna started handing him the right wrench before he even asked for it. After 1 year, she was helping him repair engines. After 2 years, she was solving problems that Jake couldn't figure out. One evening, Jake watched Luna carefully fix a quantum drive coupling. Her small claws moved with perfect precision, better than most trained engineers could do. "You're supposed to be a killing machine," Jake said with a smile. "Not a mechanic." Luna made a chittering sound that Jake had learned meant she was laughing. She had never developed the strong fire breath that normal dragons had. Her flame was weak, barely hot enough to weld thin metal together, another defect. Another reason the Empress had wanted her dead. Jake didn't care. He had never wanted a weapon anyway. Their peaceful life ended one cold morning when a dragon merchant ship docked at the station for repairs. The captain was a big male dragon named Vorgoth. He had scars all over his body and a reputation for being tough but fair. Vorgoth came to Jake's repair bay with a broken thruster that needed fixing. Jake had hidden Luna in the back room, but dragons had good noses. Vorgoth's nose holes flared the moment he walked in. "You have one of my kind here," Vorgoth said in a deep voice. His hand moved toward the plasma gun on his belt. Jake stepped between Vorgoth and the back room. "I have a worker who likes privacy. I smell young blood, royal blood." Vorgoth's eyes became narrow and suspicious. "You're hiding a deserter?" "I'm protecting an employee who's really good at her job." They stared at each other for several seconds. Then Luna walked out from the back room on all 4 legs. She held her head high, even though she was so much smaller than Vorgoth. She stood next to Jake and looked straight at the big dragon with her purple eyes. Vorgoth stared at her. His face showed surprise, then confusion, then something that might have been sadness. "The broken one," he whispered. "The Empress's shame. They said you died." Luna said nothing. She couldn't talk like normal dragons could. Another defect, but the way she stood said everything. "I survived. I'm still here." Vorgoth moved his hand away from his weapon. He looked at Jake for a long moment, then back at Luna. "Fix my ship, mechanic," he said quietly. "And tell your worker that there are others like me in the fleet. We remember when the Empress cared about her people, not just her pride. Some of us don't think hatchlings should be thrown away like broken cargo." Before he left, Vorgoth gave Jake contact information for a secret network. Dragons who disagreed with the Empire's cruel rules. Dragons who wanted change but had to stay hidden after Vorgith's ship left the station. Luna pressed her head against Jake's leg. She was shaking a little. "You're not broken," Jake said firmly. He scratched behind the horn ridges on her head the way she liked. "You're just different, and different isn't bad." Luna made her soft, chittering sound and went back to the engine they had been working on, her hybrid wings folded neatly against her back. The polymer parts shined under the repair lights. Jake didn't know it then, but word was spreading through the secret dragon networks. Stories about the Empress's rejected daughter who was alive and doing well with a human. The story seemed impossible, but Vorgith never lied. And he had proof in his ship's log files. The broken one lived, and she was learning things the Empire never wanted her to know. Jake watched Luna work and felt proud. She used a small welding torch with perfect control, fixing a crack in the engine housing. 2 years ago, she had been dying on his workbench. Now she was better at some repairs than he was. "What do you want to be when you grow up?" Jake asked her. Luna stopped working and looked at him. She couldn't answer with words, but she pointed at him, then at herself, then at the ship they were fixing. Jake understood. She wanted to be like him. A mechanic who fixed things and helped people. "You're already better than me," Jake said honestly. Luna chittered and went back to work, but Jake could tell she was happy that night. After the work was done, Jake sat at his small table and thought about the future. Luna was growing up. Eventually, someone would report them to the Empire. The Empress would send soldiers. They would have to run or fight. Luna climbed onto the table and looked at him with her smart purple eyes. She could tell he was worried. "I'm going to keep you safe," Jake promised, "no matter what happens." Luna put her small clawed hand on his arm. She couldn't speak, but her touch said she would keep him safe too. They were family now. Not by blood or species, but by choice. Jake had saved her life and she had given him purpose. Together they were stronger than either one alone. Outside the window, the stars shined bright. Somewhere out there, the Empress ruled with fear and tradition. She believed only perfect dragons deserved to live. Jake looked at Luna, with her hybrid wings and small size and inability to speak. She was everything the Empress had rejected. But to Jake she was perfect exactly as she was. Luna yawned, showing her small teeth, and curled up on the table next to Jake's arm. Within minutes she was asleep, trusting him completely. Jake stayed awake longer, planning and thinking. He had been a soldier once before he became a mechanic. He knew how to fight if he had to. He knew how to run and hide. He knew how to survive, but now he had someone depending on him. That changed everything. He would need to be ready. The Empire would come eventually. When they did, Jake would make sure Luna survived. She had already been thrown away once. He wouldn't let it happen again. Jake finally fell asleep at his table, one hand resting on Luna's small back, feeling her breathe. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. But tonight they were safe. And that was enough. The Scar was the most dangerous place in known space. It was a region destroyed by ancient wars that nobody remembered anymore. The area was filled with old shipwrecks, asteroid fields, and radiation clouds. Pirates, criminals, and exiles lived there because no government wanted to control it. Jake and Luna arrived with nothing except Vorgith's small ship and the tools they carried. 1 year later, they had built something amazing. It started small. They set up a repair station on a dead asteroid. Ships that were desperate or had nowhere else to go came to them for repairs. Luna's special ability to control machines with her mind made them valuable. She could find problems in a ship just by touching it. She could fix computer systems with a thought. She could break through security codes that expert hackers couldn't crack. Word spread fast. The Scar had new players. A tiny dragon with magic abilities and her human partner who didn't ask questions about where you came from or what you had done. Money came in. Jake used every credit to expand their operation. Luna designed repair robots that she could control with her mind. She created a communication system that couldn't be hacked by normal methods. She built defenses that made their asteroid base almost impossible to attack. But more important than the technology, they built a community. Other outcasts arrived. A dragon engineer who had run away from the Empire's strict social system. A human pilot with a criminal record and no home. An artificial intelligence that had become self-aware and was afraid of being deleted. Species that hated each other. In the rest of the galaxy worked together in Luna's workshops. She led them not through fear or violence, but through respect. She was small, scarred, and different. She understood what it felt like to be rejected. And she remembered everyone who had helped her. 5 years after they escaped from the station, their asteroid base was home to 3,000 people. It became known as Haven, a place where the galaxy's unwanted and rejected could start over. The Empire noticed. A huge fleet arrived in the sky, 30 warships led by the Empress herself. Azira had spent 5 years hunting for her daughter. Now she had found her. A message came directly to Luna's computer terminal. Surrender yourself. I will let your human and his little colony live. Fight back, and I will burn Haven to ashes. Jake wanted to fight. They had defenses, weapons, and loyal people willing to die for Luna. But Luna knew the truth. Against an Imperial fleet, Haven would last only a few hours at best. Thousands of people would die. She typed her answer. I will come, but I choose where we meet. She sent coordinates deep in the scar, in a region called the Graveyard. It was filled with ancient shipwrecks and debris from a war that happened so long ago nobody knew who had fought it. Navigation was dangerous there. Only small ships could safely fly through the wreckage. The Empress agreed, thinking her daughter was surrendering. Luna took one ship with only Jake. As they flew into the graveyard, she explained her plan using the ship's computer. Mother thinks I'm weak because I'm small, Luna wrote on the screen. She thinks I'm broken because I can't do what she does. She's wrong. I'm not broken. I'm better. The graveyard wasn't just old wreckage. It was Luna's secret project, something she had been building for 5 years. Every broken ship, every piece of debris, every abandoned weapon system had been quietly repaired, connected, and armed. The entire debris field was one giant weapon, and Luna's mind controlled all of it. When the Empress arrived with her elite guards in a single attack shuttle, confident in her power, she flew straight into Luna's trap. The graveyard came alive. 1,000 automated systems activated at once. Railguns that had been silent for centuries started firing. Missile launchers hidden in asteroids released their deadly cargo. Energy weapons from a dozen different alien technologies created a web of destruction. The Empress's shuttle survived the first attack. Her pilot was skilled, and the ship's shields were strong. But Luna knew every ship system, every power flow, every weak point. She didn't attack randomly. She was precise, like a surgeon, breaking down the shuttle's defenses layer by layer. Azira's shuttle crashed on a dead moon. The Empress and her guards came out battered but alive. Luna's ship landed nearby. She walked out alone toward her mother, moving on all 4 legs. The Empress laughed, even though she was hurt. You think you've won? You can't kill me, child. I am 300 years old. I have burned entire worlds. Luna stopped 10 feet away. On Jake's tablet back in the ship, words appeared. I don't want to kill you. I want you to understand. Automated drones rose from the moon's surface, their weapons pointed at the Imperial guards. Luna had prepared for this meeting for years. Every possibility, every move her mother might make. Understand what? Azira snarled. That you can hide behind machines? That you can run away and build your little kingdom in the garbage of space? You prove nothing except that I was right to throw you away. Luna's answer came not from a screen, but from every speaker in every wrecked ship in the graveyard. Her voice was synthesized from thousands of recordings. I understand what you never could. Power isn't about size or fire or fear. It's about connection. You threw me away because I was different. But different made me stronger. I learned from humans. I'd built things with outcasts. I connected to machines in ways your psychics never imagined. You made an Empress. He made me something new. The Empress stared at her daughter. For perhaps the first time, she really saw Luna, small, scarred, with hybrid wings made of bone and human materials, eyes glowing with intelligence that went beyond instinct. What are you? Azira whispered. Evolution, Luna answered through 1,000 voices at once. The confrontation ended not with death, but with a choice. Luna offered her mother safe passage out of the graveyard. The Empress could return to her fleet, return to her empire, and leave Haven alone. Or she could keep hunting and learn what Luna's weapons could really do. Azira was ancient and proud, but she recognized something rare, not greater strength, but a better position. Not in raw power, but in vision and planning. "This isn't over," the Empress said as she climbed into her damaged shuttle. "No," Luna's voice agreed. "But it's different now." The Imperial fleet left the Scar, for the first time in 300 years. The Empress had backed down from a fight. Back on Haven, Jake found Luna in her workshop. She was shaking with exhaustion. Controlling all the graveyard systems at once had pushed her abilities to their limit. "You could have killed her," Jake said quietly. Luna chittered weakly and typed slowly. "Killing her would make me what she thought I was? Letting her go made me what you taught me to be?" Jake scratched behind her horn ridges, and Luna fell asleep right there on the workshop floor. The rejected baby dragon who had become the master of the Scar rested, safe for now. Jake covered her with a blanket and stood guard. Outside, Haven celebrated. Word spread that the Empire had retreated, that the Broken One had faced the Empress and won. But Jake knew better. This wasn't victory, it was a delay. The Empress would return with a bigger fleet and more warriors. When that day came, they would need to be ready. Luna stirred in her sleep, and Jake gently touched her head. She had come so far from the dying baby he found in his repair bay. She had become something the galaxy had never seen, a bridge between species, a leader who inspired through compassion, a warrior who fought with her mind. The mechanic and the dragon had changed the Scar forever. Now they had to prepare to change the galaxy. The alarm woke Jake from a deep sleep. Red lights flashed in his room and a loud siren screamed through the station. Luna jumped up immediately, making urgent, chittering sounds. Jake ran to the window and looked out. 3 Imperial attack ships were pulling away from the station. Their weapons were glowing hot. They had found Luna. "We have to run," Jake said, grabbing his emergency bag. He had packed it years ago for this exact moment. Luna blocked the door. She was 4 years old now, still small but strong and fast. Her purple eyes looked determined. "Luna, move." "We don't have time to argue." But Luna didn't move. Instead, she smashed Jake's workbench with one powerful hit. Under the bench was a hidden panel in the floor. Inside was a collection of weapons Jake had never seen before. Plasma charges, EMP grenades, and a rifle that looked like Luna had built it from spare parts. "When did you make all this?" Jake stared at her in shock. Luna chittered urgently and pushed the rifle into his hands. Then she ran to the wall and touched it with her claw. A hidden screen appeared, showing maps of the station, the positions of Imperial soldiers, and an escape route through the maintenance tunnels. She had been planning for this day. Since she understood what she was, the door exploded inward with a blast of heat. 2 Imperial warriors stomped into the room. They were huge dragons, 9 feet tall, covered in thick scales and carrying plasma weapons. "The Broken One," the first warrior said with hate in his voice. "The Empress wants your dead body." Luna moved like lightning. She was small, but she used that to her advantage. The room was tight and cramped. The big warriors couldn't move freely. Luna bounced off the walls, jumped over their heads, and slipped under their attacks. Her hybrid wings gave her bursts of speed the warriors couldn't match. Jake fired the rifle, covering Luna's movements. They fought together like they had practiced for years, even though they never had. Each one knew where the other would be without having to look. They fought their way through the station. Luna's escape plan was perfect. She had mapped every patrol route, every security camera blind spot, every weakness in the station's defenses. The Empire had trained their warriors to fight big dragons. They weren't ready for one that thought like a human tactical expert. In the docking bay, a small courier ship waited. Jake recognized it as one he had repaired months ago for Vorgoth. The dragon merchant had supposedly left it behind for parts. Now Jake understood. It was a gift. An escape ship. They were 10 steps from the ship when the bay doors slammed shut. Empress Azira herself walked out from the shadows, followed by her elite guards. The Empress was huge and terrifying. 20 feet of golden scales and ancient power. Her wings could block out the sun. Her fire breath could melt steel. She had ruled the dragon empire for 300 years and crushed every rebellion. She looked at Luna with eyes like burning coals. So small, Azira said, her voice echoing with strange power. So weak, yet you dare to survive? You dare to embarrass me by continuing to live? Luna stepped forward, putting herself between Jake and her mother. She was tiny compared to the Empress. Her wings still had scars from when she was a baby. But she didn't back down. I am disappointed, Azira continued. I hoped you would die with dignity. Instead, you live as a pet, raised by a human, working as a common laborer. You shame not just yourself, but the entire Imperial bloodline. Jake had seen Luna fight. He had seen her outsmart enemies, survive impossible situations, and build weapons from garbage. But right now, facing the mother who had thrown her away, Luna was shaking. She's worth 10 of you, Jake said, his voice filled with anger. He stepped forward to stand beside Luna. She's brave. She's smart. She's loyal. Everything you're supposed to be, but aren't? The Empress looked at him. For a moment, Jake was sure he would die. Then Azira laughed, a sound like rocks grinding together. The human dares to lecture me? You, who raised a weapon you can't control? Do you know what she is, mechanic? Do you understand what you've created? I didn't create anything, Jake said firmly. I just gave her a chance to be herself. Herself? Azira's laugh stopped. She is a dragon. She is Imperial blood. Her destiny is to serve or to die. There is no third choice. Luna stopped shaking. She raised her head and looked straight at her mother for the first time. Then she did something impossible. She spoke not in the dragon psychic language she should have known naturally. Not in human words she had heard for years but never said. She spoke in code. In the language of machines and computers that Jake had taught her while they worked. Together, the station's computers responded to her words. Every screen in the docking bay lit up at the same time. A message appeared in many languages. I am not broken. I am evolved. The bay doors blew open. Vorgoth's ship roared to life, its engines started by Luna's remote signal. The station's defense weapons, hacked by Luna's hidden programs, turned toward the Imperial ships. In the chaos, Jake and Luna ran. They reached the ship as plasma fire filled the bay. The Empress roared with fury, a sound that shook the walls. They jumped into hyperspace before the Imperial fleet could follow in the small ship's cabin. Jake and Luna sat quietly for a long time. You can control machines with your mind, Jake finally said. How long have you been able to do that? Luna chittered softly. Words appeared on the ship's computer screen. Since you taught me to think like you? Dragons are born with psychic powers. I was born broken, but broken in the right way. My mind connects to technology, not to other dragons. Mother threw away a psychic. She created something new. Jake read the words twice. You're not a weapon. You're something the galaxy has never seen before. I'm what you made me, Luna typed. Thank you. They flew toward the outer edge of known space, where the Empire's control was weak. But Jake knew this was just the beginning. Luna had embarrassed the Empress in front of her elite guards. Azira would never stop hunting them. The question was, what would they do with the time they had bought? Jake looked at Luna, who was already studying the ship's systems and making improvements. She was 4 years old and could hack any computer, control machines with her mind. And outsmart trained warriors, the Empress had thrown her away. Because she was different, that difference had saved both their lives today. Where should we go? Jake asked. Luna typed quickly. Somewhere we can build. Somewhere others like us can be safe. Somewhere the Empire fears to go. Jake understood. They weren't just running away. They were running toward something new. The scar, he said. The dead zone at the edge of space. Luna's eyes glowed with approval. She began plotting a course to the most dangerous, lawless region of the galaxy, a place where the broken and the rejected could finally be free, the ship jumped to hyperspace, leaving the Empire behind. But the Empire would come looking. They always did. Jake and Luna would be ready. 10 years had passed since Jake found a dying baby dragon in his repair bay. The galaxy was about to change forever. The Dragon Empire was breaking apart. Empress Azira's retreat from the Scar had shown weakness, and rebellion spread like fire. Colonies demanded freedom. Military commanders questioned their orders. The merchant guilds, led by Vorgoth, openly refused to follow imperial trade laws, and at the center of the coming storm was Luna. She was 15 years old now. Still small by dragon standards, but more powerful than anyone imagined. Her ability to control technology had grown to cover entire networks. She could connect with any machine, any system, any digital mind. Her consciousness spread across Haven stations like a ghost in the computers. Refugees flooded into the Scar by the thousands. Not just criminals and outcasts anymore, but families, teachers, and soldiers tired of endless wars. Haven grew from one asteroid station to 50 different settlements, all protected by Luna's connected defense network. She became a symbol. The broken one who refused to die, who built instead of destroyed, who welcomed everyone instead of conquering them. The Empire couldn't allow it to continue. Empress Azira gathered the largest fleet seen in 100 years. 500 warships, 50,000 warriors, enough firepower to destroy planets. She would end Luna's rebellion and remind the galaxy why the Empire ruled. Jake watched the fleet approach on long-range sensors. "We need to evacuate. Get everyone out while we still can." Luna typed quickly on her screen. "No running. No hiding. Time to decide what we are." She had spent 10 years preparing for this moment. The Scar wasn't just a refuge anymore. It was a fortress, a network, a living system with Luna as its brain. Every ship that came for repairs, every system she had touched, every piece of technology she had improved, formed connections in a web that covered the entire outer rim. When the Imperial fleet arrived, they didn't find scattered refugees. They found an organized defense network as powerful as anything in the core worlds. The battle lasted 3 days. Luna's forces were outnumbered 10-1. But Luna fought like nothing the Empire had ever faced. She was everywhere and nowhere. She coordinated 1,000 ships at the same time. She predicted enemy movements before they happened. She found and used every weakness. Her hybrid wings, built from human technology and dragon biology, became a symbol shown on every screen, every monitor, every display in the battle zone. The Empire's advantages meant nothing against someone who could turn their own computers against them. Luna hacked targeting systems, corrupted navigation data, and took control of automated weapons. She didn't just fight the fleet. She made the fleet fight itself. On the 3rd day, as the battle reached its peak, something unexpected happened. Imperial ships started surrendering. Not to Luna's weapons, but to her message. A young dragon commander broadcast on all channels. "I was born with wrong-colored scales. They made me prove myself 1,000 times, while purebloods got promoted without earning it. I'm done. The broken one fights for those the Empire threw away. I'll fight for her." More voices joined. Engineers whose ideas had been stolen by nobles. Soldiers who had lost friends in pointless wars. Families whose children had been killed for small defects. The rebellion spread through the Imperial fleet like a virus. Empress Azira watched her fleet fall apart. In desperation, she challenged Luna to single combat. Ancient tradition said the winner would take control of the Empire. Jake begged Luna not to accept. "It's suicide. She's 300 years old, 30 times your size, and trained in combat since birth. You're a mechanic, not a warrior." Luna typed carefully. "I was never meant to be an empress. But maybe the Empire needs to learn there's more than one way to lead." The combat happened on a neutral station, broadcast across the entire galaxy. Ancient tradition required single combat with no help, no technology, and no weapons beyond natural abilities. Jake thought Luna was going to die. The fight lasted 17 minutes. The Empress was everything Luna wasn't. Powerful, graceful, and deadly. Her fire breath could melt armor. Her claws could cut through steel. She had killed challengers for 300 years, but Luna had spent 10 years learning to think differently. She was small, so she was fast. She was weak, so she was clever. Her hybrid wings let her turn in ways the Empress couldn't. Her technology ability, even without machines to control, gave her awareness of space that the Empress lacked. She didn't try to overpower her mother. She tired her out. Luna dodged, moved, and stayed just out of reach. She made the ancient dragon chase her, burn energy, and get frustrated. When the Empress finally made a mistake, pushing too hard in anger, Luna struck not with claws or fire. She used words. Luna spoke in the true dragon psychic language she had never been able to use before. Years of living with different species, connecting with countless minds through technology, had taught her consciousness to bridge gaps her biology couldn't. Her voice reached into every dragon mind watching the broadcast. You taught me I was broken. You taught me I was worthless. You taught me to die. Instead, I learned to live. I learned to build. I learned that strength comes from helping others, not crushing them. You are the Empress of old ways. I am the future. The psychic pressure of her words, backed by the will of millions watching, brought the Empress to her knees. Azira stared at her daughter. 300 years of tradition were crumbling. If you kill me, you must take the throne. That is the law? Then I change the law, Luna said, her computer voice and psychic presence speaking together. I don't want your empire. I want your people to be free to choose. Free to be different. Free to be broken and still survive? She turned to the watching galaxy, to billions seeing a tiny scarred dragon standing over the greatest empress in dragon history. I claim nothing. I demand nothing. But I offer a haven to anyone who wants to build instead of conquer. Anyone told they're not enough. Anyone ready for something new. The Empress lived. Luna refused the crown, refused the power, and refused everything the Empire stood for, but the Empire fell anyway. Not to weapons, but to choice? Millions chose Luna's vision over Azira's tradition. The colonies declared independence. The fleet split apart. The galaxy transformed. Luna returned to Haven with Jake. She never called herself Empress. The galaxy called her that anyway, the rejected baby, the broken dragon. The tiny creature Jake had saved in a repair bay became the catalyst for the greatest change the galaxy had seen in 1,000 years, and she did it not by being the strongest or the biggest or the most violent. She did it by being herself. Different, brilliant, and kind. Jake watched her work on a new ship design in her workshop. Her hybrid wings were folded, her small body bent over technical drawings. He marveled at what they had built together. You changed everything, he said. Luna chittered with amusement and typed. You changed me first. I just shared what you taught me. In the new galaxy they were building, where differences were celebrated and broken things could be beautiful, that seemed like the perfect foundation, the mechanic and the dragon. The human and the Empress who refused to rule. Together they proved that the deadliest creatures in the galaxy weren't always the ones with the sharpest claws or the hottest fire. Sometimes they were the ones with the biggest hearts. And the clearest vision. Luna went back to her work, designing systems that would help more people, creating technology that would bridge more gaps between species. Jake watched her and smiled. She had been thrown away as garbage. Now she was the hope of billions. All because one mechanic decided that broken things deserved a chance to be fixed, and in fixing her, he had helped fix the galaxy.